Yeah, everybody said I couldn't do it. Well, here it is to finally prove it. From Keeping It 100, Conan is on the podcast. Conan, how are you doing today?
My Wi-Fi is acting a little wacky today. It goes from like strong signal.
I'll do that intro again. It was hilarious. Everybody said I could never get him. Well, here he is, the star of Keeping It 100, Conan himself. Conan, how are you doing today?
Do you want to give me a proper introduction?
Yeah, you sounded you don't sound as Cuban as much.
Well, you
That's
called
just
me Conan. You didn't
yeah.
introduce Conan.
I thought you were Conan.
No,
No, well, we get
no.
along. It's not.
Conan's never doing your show.
That's not true. He just
No, it's not.
he just messaged me there. I'll read
No,
it
I
out.
didn't.
This is Hidely Ho Hughezy. It's
This
Conan.
fake news. You're trying to. This is the reason he doesn't do your show. Is because he does your attempts at comedy are ill-fated. To be honest.
Well, then why does it say in the second sentence? Hey, Adam. Sorry.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
How did you get like? Why did you start doing a podcast?
Well, do you know who Kevin Smith is? The film wanker.
Yeah,
I used to
he
work
did.
for.
He did like stuff with like Ben Affleck back in the day and stuff. And everything, right?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
used to work. I used to work for him.
You work.
And
You used to work for him.
yeah, yeah.
Doing what?
Editing stuff online.
Oh, his webpage.
Yeah, yeah. And I kept meaning to start a podcast, and then I realized I started way too late
Hmm.
because if I'd have done it when he said, I'd
Where does he
probably
live?
up my arse is where he can fucking live, and he can stay there.
Where does he live?
L.A.
Well, how did he find you in Ireland to do his webpage stuff? Do you do that for a living?
No, well, I did at the time, but not because
So
basically it's
what's your to just so like because I know people that watch Keeping 100 are going to probably watch this, okay? And nobody like a lot of people in Keep 100 have no clue who you are or why you're even doing podcasts or why you even know us or why you're running a page. What is your background? Like, give me a little bit like so people know a little bit about Hughezy, how old you are, what your work history is, just so people know. Like, other than just the fact that you're just a podcast figure, there's really not much known about you.
but see, there's part of that I don't like to put out there because Keep 100 has a lot of trolls.
Well, so yeah, but you're the one that recruits the trolls with your with the way you flame the banners and the headlines on the post you make.
That is
But bro, if you're worried about revealing things about yourself because there's trolls, okay, then you are oblivious to the climate on social media because there's obviously trolls in every genre of social media. That's what people do. They just go on there to aggravate people.
I'll let out that I'm an editor.
Mhm.
I'm 35 and 6'2",
Yeah, that's 6'2".
240.
That's not true. Are you really 6'2", 240? I find that hard. The pictures that then you've been taking pictures because I've seen some pictures of you.
Uh,
You must be with people that are like 7'3" and 400 and something pounds because you look like you're like 5'9", 165.
all those people were your ex-girlfriends.
See, that's not funny.
Speaking of
Tell us a little
funny,
bit more. You're 30. You're 35 years old. And you edit. Okay. Now, any random person on the internet can learn how to edit stuff. All right. So what else is your level of expertise and stuff? Like what else would you do?
uh, in regards to podcasting,
Just anything.
uh, well,
Do you have a job now?
yeah, I'm an editor.
Okay, you're an editor. Right now you edit. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. But what did you do before, like to get with Kevin Smith? Is that what you were doing? You were video editing?
well, with him, Kevin the Stooge Smith is it was kind of like what I did for mine and Conan's show, Keeping It 100. I was editing clips without permission, and then I got permission and became very close friends with the main host of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go.
That's how you got with Kevin Smith?
Yeah,
He had a
because it was
show?
Yeah, he had this podcast, and it was getting
Oh,
really,
okay. So Kevin Smith had a podcast.
yeah, and
Okay.
I started clipping it, and it was getting these enormous views, like millions per month, and they took me on.
To do that stuff, kind of like what you do with us.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Only I would never set him up with clickbait.
Okay.
That's a wild accusation. I would never do something like that at all.
Right.
Yeah, so I've got a few gimmicks to pitch to make some money, and then we'll go into the all important interview. So up first, I've got a character called Cliff Diving, and he only comes in through the ceiling
Okay. I don't like that.
and only does area. Okay, well
That's
that
not. I'm not supporting that one.
well you're a very woke liberal, just like me. I'm all about vegetables and stuff. So what about this for a character? Used to work with her name's Dixie Carter in Impact, but we
Hmm.
bring her back as a transgender male, and we change her surname to Normus.
It's not funny.
What about we've got a tag team who always do blade jobs. We can call Nick and Artery.
No.
We've got a guy who's a heavy steroid user, but now he's having another one last run. Name is Mike Roballs.
Nope. Terrible.
And then we've got a guy. He's the heel female GM, also a former Hollywood producer. He goes by the character of Ray Pist.
Nope. Awful.
I'll,
These aren't even funny.
that's because we're talking.
Because the parody names have jumped the shark.
You don't
Like
think
that was a thing about a while back when everybody was making parody names, but now it's just like we've seen enough. Parody
you
names are not funny anymore.
so you're saying that you don't think jokes about rape are funny?
No, I just think your characters based on the parodies are not funny. They're not they're not that creative.
But you didn't hear the entrance music.
No, I don't care. I don't want to hear the entrance music.
Well, I'd love to hear your answer to this question. So, of course, with coronavirus going on and stuff, and as a long-time listener of disco interviews, you rally often against SJW culture. So, the question I've got for you is: do you think that this coronavirus shit is going to be the thing that actually kills off the social justice warrior culture?
What? How do you figure that?
Well, I mean, considering that people are fucking dying from getting
Yeah, but not that many people are dying. They get it? It's a souped up flu, is what it is.
yeah, but
It's basically the flu times 10, and it's times 10, but it's times 10, but it's probably times 20 for like it's times 10 for people with like because here's the thing: 80% people show mild symptoms. Old people and people pre-existing conditions, more so older people with pre-existing conditions, are like 20% of it that get it worse. And so right now, with no vaccine and with no they're in the embryonic stages of testing medicines that are working. We just got to figure out, if this didn't hit the elderly and people with pre-existing conditions as hard as it does, this would just be another flu, and we really wouldn't care. We just get, bro. What's the big deal with 80% of the people that get mild symptoms? It's nothing. You're home. There's reports of people that had like an 8-hour fever. The fever broke and then they were better. And like some people just get like fever and coughs, and ends up other people get it worse. So the fact that it hits people hard, a certain segment, is like we don't know what's going to happen going forward yet.
Are you worried about it, or do you just think it's a mild hindrance?
I'm just worried about the hit to people that aren't working and their reaction going forward, and how long it will take. I wish we could just, when this thing breaks and we figure out we can all get back to doing everything normally the way we used to do it, I wish everything would just pick up from that point and start back over like it used to be, but it's going to take some time. So it's just uncertain. I don't know. I can't make any predictions or comment because there's so much uncertainty right now. You know, but I hear like in South Korea they're starting to go. They're going to start playing baseball with fans in the stands. You know?
Why did you do the eye thing there?
What do you mean?
Anyone who ever sees the video, you probably just hear in the audio version. Disco did the Chinese eyes thing. It's disgusting.
I did not. Anybody that's listen on audio, that's fake news.
But that's the whole thing, though. Is that I think with this social justice warrior culture, it doesn't make sense to be like, yeah, there's people ill and there's people out of work and all this stuff, but you misgendered me. It's time to cancel you. It's like, no, it's not the time for some fucking transsexual.
Well, nobody's talking about shit like that right now. Everybody's talking about this. It's not going to cancel social. But social justice culture is just a bunch of people looking for stuff to complain about, and just waiting to find the triggers to start complaining. And it's really kind of like a troll culture on. There was. Did you watch Homeland?
Fuck no.
Okay, that's a great show.
No.
The show Homeland?
I watched Total Divas.
Okay, well, it's typical. Like you Marks just watch wrestling and like Total Divas. Like you don't watch anything else.
No, I only watch it for Nikki Bella's mum. She's hilarious. But anyway, Go ahead. Homeland.
Basically the last couple seasons has been based around kind of like an Alex Jones type character, and like how social media trolling works. Like how there's people out there, there's troll armies, and basically people have like these, you know, like when they talk about Russian trolls, the Russians will have like like a room full of like just tons of people, like 50. You know, well, let's just hypothetically call it like 50 people in a room, right? And they're all managing social media various different social media accounts, right? And the way like the trolling and like the online and the way things gain like, you know, hashtagging and stuff, like stuff will come out and the troll army will immediately like hashtag and start start hitting the internet with it to pump up the story. And the story could be fake. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this whole culture that exists. It's like you don't like, especially on online, you don't know if it's like the transgender stuff, right?
Yeah.
The the transgender stuff is blown way out of proportion because there's not a lot of transgenders. It's a very, very super small segment of society. But look at all the attention it gains on social media. That's how that's how they make this stuff more important than it is. They keep talking, the bots will hit, it's just that's how you do. You flood it, it's like what Alex Jones has. It's called Infowars. It's information wars. It's trying to get the strength of your argument out there, like above the others. And again, in the process of that, what it does is create conflict. So it's like, social justice warriors we don't know what a like true social justice warrior is, because some of the social justice warriors could just be kind of, you never know, they could just be like fake accounts acting weird. Because you look at some of these accounts, they do seem like, ever since I started getting into this and like the trolling culture and stuff, everything, I'm very dubious. Like you see an account, you read the account. I don't know if that's just some troll online just making up a thing, just posting that. You know what I'm saying? So like the social justice warriors are like they're a smaller percentage of the society, but the right wing trolls will try to pump these accounts up and try, the silliness and like the outrageousness of some of the social justice warriors things that they talk about. They'll just blow them up and blow it up, but they make it seem like there's way more people to talk about it, but really it's not. It's not that big of an issue, Do
you think that extreme liberalism is a mental disorder?
No, not a mental disorder. Okay, but what it is getting involved in extreme liberal culture on social media. You just get brainwashed. That's all it is. It's just it's funny because they do I've always thought this was very interesting. That they use the word like when you watch TV, it's called television programming, and it's like we think like a program is something you watch on TV, a TV program. But what does program mean? Program is like they're trying to program me. You're giving me information to program my thought process. So it's like I'm very. It's like when I go on social media, I read things. I've got like a natural firewall where I don't believe things I read until I investigate, look, search, and everything until I find the truth. So, but a lot of people will just believe everything they read if they follow accounts they like and stuff. It just drives their thought process, and it basically brainwashes them into a thought process, which is why Google, YouTube, Twitter, all these places, they have algorithms set up looking for keywords and stuff and everything that set up. And what they try to do, they give you suggestions to try to keep you in their train of thought. So what you do is like, it's very simple. It's a simple philosophy. If you divide people, okay, if you have everybody in one big giant group, okay, it's very difficult to program all those people because you don't know you did their thing. So what you do is you create conflict, right? So with conflict comes division. So now they're separated. So now you know how to program a certain group and program another group with your suggestions now. And then that's why division works so well for social media and television stuff and everything, is because it divides people into, it's easier to program them because they're a smaller group of people. And you can identify them more easily.
Kind of like when they did the Total Bellas spinoff from Total Divas.
I don't watch either show. What was better, Total Bellas or Total Divas? I like John Cena. So I watched a couple episodes of John Cena on Total Bellas because he was funny. But I don't watch the shows.
Well, it had moments of, see, the thing, because it was like a 95% work with a small bit of reality.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality was like the time when Daniel Bryan, because of his concussion issues,
mm-hmm.
he had to leave. He was going through like a mental breakdown or whatever you call that. Mm-hmm. That I found interesting, but the other stuff such as Eva Marie's dating life was all fake and a work, but I'd still fuck the shit out of her,
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, earlier on I had to take a note. You called me a mark, which I don't know how you would get that sort of idea, but I've got to ask you a few wrestling questions. So are you ready to mark it on up?
Sure, why not?
Right, well, one of the things I've been doing is a lot of later era WCW I didn't get to see. So I've been rewatching parts of it on the network, and it's not great for me, but Scott Steiner in 2000, there's a good chance he was the best in the fucking world. He was terrifying. He was real. I could have took him in a shoot, but other people couldn't. And I just thought that it's like he's the one thing that they got really, really right, while other shit wasn't going well. Like they didn't put the belt on Disco Inferno. Big mistake. Big mistake. But I'm going to ask you, and of course you were on the WCW booking committee, and so I'd love to know, why did Scott Steiner versus Hulk Hogan never happen, or was that ever discussed or planned? Or
they were both heels at the time, I believe, and Steiner didn't like Hogan. That would not have worked. There were some guys that Steiner did not like, and he let everybody know he didn't like him, so we just didn't even bother booking him against those guys.
No, but
he was a bully. Scott Steiner was a backstage. He bullied himself, but he was good. It's like he was a bully. He bullied himself in getting stuff that he wanted, but they usually gave him stuff that he liked. You know what I'm saying? But there was stuff that he did not want to do. You would not convince him to do it. But he was still doing great TV. His interviews were like, if you watch the promos he would cut before the matches, bro, the people were just like, they're just like, he knew how to get that crowd in a frenzy, that they just did not like him, Do
you think that Steiner could have ever gone into MMA?
No, he'd have messed up
back.
He had physical issues. He had like screws in his feet and stuff and everything. You know, he had like physical problems. You know, it was amazing that he was like a robot. That if you looked at the stuff that was wrong with him, it's amazing that he went out there and performed. It's like other people would be just kind of like crippled. You know.
But when you talk about because Hogan turned face, this is where the Mark side comes in. Don't know how he ever got that idea. But Hogan turned face in late '99, and then when Steiner was like champion and all that shit, I thought that if they'd have gone with Steiner versus Hogan, that would.
It wasn't going to happen.
Do you think Hogan shut
I
it down?
I just told you why it was not going to happen.
You're aggressive.
What? Okay, let me ask you a question. What did I say? Why did I say Scott Steiner would never wrestle Hulk Hogan?
Because he didn't like him.
Right. That was not going to happen.
That's fucking. Do you think Steiner was mentally ill?
No. He was just wound different. He wasn't ill at all. He was very intelligent. Scott Steiner's a bright guy. Like you seem kind of like his promos and everything. He's street smart. I mean, he's not a dope. You know, he's an intelligent guy, and he read people pretty well. You know, he would have a good idea. He you know, he had his opinions about people that you couldn't change him, and he was I don't know. He's a smart guy. He was smart. You know, knew how to get himself over.
Was there anybody back then that you think could have taken him in the shoot?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? I've never seen the guys shoot, so how would I know?
Well, Scott Steiner's just lucky he didn't mess with me.
Yeah.
But one of the matches that I watched recently that I'd never seen Steiner do was Steiner versus Goldberg, and I think it was Fall Brawl or Survivor Bash at the Beach 2000, and they kicked the fuck out of each other, and it was probably the greatest Goldberg match I've ever seen.
Yeah, because there was clobbering each other. You know, it's two big guys, two big muscle heads beating each other up. It's good stuff.
But here's a question I've got to ask: do you think that Goldberg was ever really a draw? Because there's difference between being a top.
He was. He was absolutely, and the reason why is very simple. You go in the building, place is packed, and he's getting the biggest pop. So it's like, yes, he is a draw.
But ratings were dropping as he was being pushed.
Yeah, but we were going up against. You got to understand that this isn't like a TV show with no competition. We were going up against Raw and SmackDown, or Raw, which was doing really good numbers and had Rock and Austin and Angle and everything. So it was different for us. You know, because it's not like it is today, where there's just one show on each night, except for Wednesday night. But it's the, AEW versus the C show on WWE. But like we had competition, But before '99, Goldberg was Goldberg's best when Goldberg was a draw is when we were killing him in the ratings. The rise of Goldberg, it was good stuff.
Did you find it weird that when Goldberg came back to WWE, that there really wasn't much of a change at all? He was just another guy.
What do you mean he's another guy?
Like ratings wise and stuff.
You mean when the first time he went? Well, the first time he went to WWE, or so when he came back recently?
The 2015 run or whatever the fuck he did.
I think he popped the numbers a little bit, didn't he?
I'm not too sure.
It wasn't 2015. It was like 2018. 12. It's 12 years after he retired. So what was that? Probably like 2018.
I just think it's a shame they didn't go with Goldberg versus Stardust, because Stardust, great guy, great talent.
I'm not.
You almost.
This is your. You haven't. You're laughing at your jokes, but they're not funny. So.
But so of course, going through old WCW shit, I came across a guy. I should reword that. This name, Hardboy Harrison.
Oh yeah.
You were.
I'll tell you what. This is interesting. I'm actually going to message the guys on the Dark Side of the Ring that do the Dark Side of the Ring series. The Hardbody Harrison story would be fascinating. That'd be a good watch on people should know that story.
But that's exactly why I'm asking you. I hear a lot of rumors that he was this fucking what would you call it, a sex criminal?
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any stories of being aware of that or noticing that kind of behavior?
No. He was in WCW. He was at the power plant. Um, he would do tough man contests, and he didn't really look. He wasn't like a polished fighter at all. But he'd like won a couple tough man contests. And if you ever watched a tough man contest, like he shows some of the tapes, like he just like rock'em sock'em robots. He just come forward and just and he's built pretty good. He was tough, but he did he did like when he worked, he was like all right. So when he was at the power plant, he was not well liked. Like people didn't like him. He was a loudmouth. He was kind of like he's just he thought he was way better than he was. He would have he was so like he was. This is like in the late '90s, but he would have like these. It's funny because me and this friend of ours, we were just crack up at this. There was like me, him, and Canyon. My other friend, we'd always joke about him because he would always come up with these names, like list of like wrestling gimmick names and stuff, and they were all just like awful. And he didn't spell really well, so it was like some of the names, but he had all these weird, stupid gimmick names. The guy's got the list. It's like if they ever do a Hard Body Harrison story, like that's one of the elements of it. Is like he had these lists of names, and he would have like how they have the Torch and the Observer. He would put out a little paper and copy and give it to people called the Power Plant Torch, right? And each month he would have like a guy that was like the dope or whatever, and he would call it, instead of the Bozo the Clown, he would spell Bozo Bozoo. So it'd be Bozu the Clown, right? So he'd have these gimmicks and everything. So he was one of those guys that didn't realize, because his attitude was atrocious, he never really was going to make it, and so he was one of the people that was in the racism lawsuit, right? And that thing was like settled. But like if that ever gone to court, like there are some of those guys, and if they like put them under, they have people testify against it, they'd be like, this guy, this is not racist. This guy's just an ass. Nobody likes him. He's disrespectful to the that's what it wasn't racism. It wasn't like he was just not a well liked guy. So then, I guess when WCW he got the money, he got all this money. He like bought a big house, and he got into sex trafficking. This became a pimp. And had like these girls, and it was funny because like he was supposedly, I guess he was training the girls. Like he had I don't know if this is true. This is shady, like I'm not clear on all this, but I think he had a wrestling ring in his bed in the backyard. He was training the girls to wrestle too. And it's funny because like Vince Russo had a religious show, and this is called Glory, like Ring of Glory. He did a Christian wrestling show one time after WCW. And Hardbody showed up, and he had like 8 girls with him. And they all were just like very quiet, and they wouldn't speak to anybody. It just looked very weird, Like it's just kind of like they all kind of had the same look, expression, kind of like just like they were lost, and stuff. And we had no idea at the time that he was sex trafficking these girls. He was pimping them out.
How many did you buy from him?
I didn't buy any.
He should have called his company Ring of Glory Hole.
Maybe.
You're no selling me here.
Well, they're not funny. I'll sell if you have a funny joke, but they're not funny.
They're hilarious. Conan's going to love this. I'm going to send it to him.
We're going to play clips of this, and he's going to kazoo you like 40 times.
But another question, I remember you kind of slightly broached this on Keeping It 100, and it never really went into depth, but you mentioned about Bret Hart once. Did you work him on a Nitro or a Thunder?
Thunder. Mm-hmm.
And you said that you felt that he tried to injure you or stiffed you with a suplex in the ring?
Yeah. He probably thought I was going into business for myself, which I wasn't. But the thing is that like this, the whole thing was so stupid. It was a Thunder taping, and they had me in there against him for like a 20-minute match. It's like they had 20 minutes, like, and like even he was like, at the time he was not very happy. They weren't doing much with him, and stuff, everything. And they had a 20-minute. They put us down for 20 minutes. And I was like, why am I with this guy for 20 minutes? I was like, that's ridiculous. So he really wasn't that keen on going over stuff before. He just wasn't. He wasn't enthusiastic about it, right? So we went out and did the match, and 20 minutes is a long time, and we were like at the 12-minute mark, and he had put me in the sharpshooter, okay, and I'm supposed to tap out when he puts me in the sharpshooter as a finish, but he's going home like 8 minutes early, and the referee's telling me don't tap. You've got 8 minutes, and I don't even know if he told him that. So I didn't tap. He let go of the hold, and he said, "What the fuck are you doing?" when he picked me up. And I said, he told me not to tap. And I don't know if this is a conversation, so he just picked me up for a suplex, and when he dropped me for a suplex, like a side suplex, he tilted me back and dropped me on my neck. Like, if you watch it, it's like but not super bad, but just enough like a little stiff suplex. And I forgot what the finish what happened after that, but eventually we went home. But yeah, he put me in the sharpshooter to go home, and it was the referee was telling me, don't tap. You've got 8 minutes left. So he probably didn't know that. He probably thought I was screwing him on his finish. You know what I'm saying? Because he's got me in the sharpshooter. He can't see the referee telling me don't tap. Because his backs we're facing opposite directions. So I'm not tapping because referee's telling me don't tap.
What was the feeling backstage when Brett came into WCW and he's on this like $3 million a year deal, yet he's complaining they're not making me work enough?
When he first came in, I remember Nash was booking, and Nash wanted him to do a job, like right away, because he had just come from New York where he was refusing to do a job to Shawn, which the whole Montreal screw job. So they want to see, hey, is he going to come here and do business? So it started off bad. And it's kind of like, Brett had a weird relationship with Kevin and, Scott and Shawn and stuff and all those guys, because he didn't like Scott, still doesn't like Scott, but Scott's an easy guy not to like, because Scott's got a very critical mouth and will say things to people that you just, he was a good heel backstage. He would get the boys hot. He gets the boys hot, and we all know his work, so he would say things to get the boys hot. But Kevin and Brett had always had good, when they worked with each other, they'd always had good matches. And they always respected working with each other because they always went out there. They had good styles. Brett was smaller, Kevin was bigger. Kevin liked to lay in his forearms and stuff, and Brett liked, but they had a falling out a little bit because of, the incident with where Brett not wanting to take Kevin's finish in a match, and because I think Sid and Shawn were working each other, Sid and and whatever it was, but like they had a falling out that led Kevin to leave WCW to go to WCW, right? But he'd always respected Brett's work. But I think maybe that maybe had something to do with it, because Kevin was a booker when he came in about having Brett's got to do a job here because we got to see if he's doing business. But Brett doesn't really ever speak bad about Kevin. But Kevin was best friends with Scott, and him and Scott didn't really get, they didn't get along. And Kevin was best friend with Scott, so there was always that little bit of animosity with Kevin because Kevin's best friends with Scott, right? Just, and it's a clique. They were the clique, and Brett still looked in the clip, but Brett had good men. But Brett always respected Shawn Waltman. Him and Shawn got along well because they always had great matches with each other and stuff. So Brett had weird sensibilities with his relationships with some of the other performers. Like, you hear him today. He'll let you know what he thinks about guys. And to this day, he calls Hogan a piece of shit. And so, he's just like, I don't know. He's got very different sensibilities than other people. He's a man of conviction. He respects the business a lot. He's kind of a man. I think he'll even admit he's a mark for business, but him being a mark for the business worked out in his favor because he was that good. And that's the difference between some of these guys. Some of these top guys that main event pay-per-views and stuff, you kind of have to be a mark for yourself a little bit to be that good at doing your character, you know? So, that was a deal with Brett.
Did it ever make sense to you from a creative point of view to not do Hart Foundation versus the NWO?
Not really, I mean, not really, yeah.
I don't know, they could have done Anvil and Bret Hart versus the Outsiders.
Yeah, but Anvil at the time, his work wasn't near up to par as Brett's was.
True.
You know? Yeah.
This is a question I've always wanted that. Well, because I've been trying to interview Stevie Richards for a while, but that old horse fucking throat's busy. But in later 1999, in the later 90s, video games really took off once the PlayStation came in. So I'm gonna ask you, what was the feeling like backstage when all these video games started coming out in regards to WWE, WCW? And do you think that those games, in a way, started bringing in the casuals to watching the TV shows?
So what? The video games did what now?
Do you think that the video games had an effect on the success of the company? Like, because for example, the WCW games started really dipping in quality, while the WWE games were getting better and better. And I think, and for me,
I don't think that had anything to do with the televised product.
I don't know, because like if
there's no way. Wrestling is an episodic television show. All right, you're not getting episodic TV playing the video game. You're just playing the matches. So the quality of the video game would have nothing to do with being interested in the episodic television storytelling, which is what drives the ratings.
But if some geek with 4 eyes and a small penis and a bald head, no offense to Joe Feeney, played like, I don't know, WCW Revenge or whatever the fuck it was called for the N64, and he didn't watch wrestling, and then someone says, you could actually see this dancing guy on
that conversation. The conversation you're talking about, I would suggest probably never happened ever in the history of life. There's no way anybody's playing the NWO WCW video game that had never seen the show before. If you can find me one person that has, correct me, and I'll put him on the Twitter and post him. Let him do a video message. He started playing the WCW video game before he ever watched WCW. If you can find one person that did that, I'd like to know who it is. I think you're just making a false. You're making a false. You don't. That's no. You really honestly think that people out there were playing the WCW video game that had never seen WCW?
I think that, yes.
Okay. I would bet you money that that's incorrect.
Okay. Well, I like to win.
Okay. Well, then don't bet me on that one.
But
you won't be able to find anybody.
Not at the minute, because there's an AIDS virus or something going on.
Never.
So in 2015, when the WCW's big names, Sting finally came to WWE. He wrestled Triple H at Mania, lost, and the internet shit themselves overnight. When you see fake outrage like that online, does it make you shake your head, or do you go, yeah, good for you guys, stick up for the wrestler?
What do you think I do? I can't believe you actually asked me that question. I've been very clear about what the answer to that would be.
Yeah, but
what do you think the answer is? You asked me a question. What do you think? You know the answer. I shake my head.
Yeah, I think you would say, if I was there, I'd have done a run-in, and we would have beat the bad guys up together.
The outcomes are not real. Okay.
But what I'm saying is, when you see the outrage to these kind of results, like, this is the question really we've got to ask. What's your take on the rise of grown adults who seem to think wrestling is real again?
They don't think it's real. They think it's art. So they pop when the artists hit each other hard or try to risk injury. That's what they pop for. If you watch, that is what they pop for. And every now and then they'll pop for gimmicky stuff, like when the kid puts his hands in the pockets, and when the guys do their gimmick, they'll pop for that. But ultimately, they don't. This generation didn't grow up watching. Like this generation of fans most of them did not grow up watching good wrestling. They grew up watching all the acrobatics, and they think while they're doing this, they're consuming the dirt sheet guys that are telling them how great this stuff is. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is that the people that just do not care about rating the matches and what that they don't care. Those people just stopped watching as these guys started doing more acrobatic stuff. And honestly, that is what has caused the decline in the fans, because you can point to shows that have been good and had good booking, but the work still all looks exactly the same. If you did the match, if you took the looked at each match and fast forward it 5 times speed, right? It would look like the guys come to the ring, they go brrr, and next thing you know, they're outside the ring, they're boom, boom, and they're jumping out of the ring like Pac-Man, boom, boom. That's what all the matches would look like. It looks like everything they do is a setup to do a big jump out of the ring, which is what happens nearly in almost every match, and most matches multiple times a match. When back in the day, that used to happen one time a show. It was a big deal. It's a big deal. Guys diving outside the ring and risking the high risk. That's the thing, is they're high risk maneuvers, right? But the wrestlers have made them by definition not high risk maneuvers. Because how often do they miss the moves when they go to do a dive outside a guy on the floor? How often do they miss? So the whole concept of it looking like a high risk maneuver, if everybody's doing it and successfully complete, it's not a high risk maneuver anymore. And this is common sense, logic that I'm talking right now. But people think about that as well, you're right. It isn't high risk anymore. Where's the risk? Nobody they do it 99.5% of the time, and they hit the move. So how is that high risk? They've taken all the elements that are involved in storytelling, compelling risk. What's going to happen? They've taken a lot of that out because nobody really pins anybody with moves anymore and everything. It's just we're going through 15 minutes of spots until it ends. And that's the way matches look these days,
It's funny you mentioned that, because I watched an event recently. It was the In Your House where Shawn Michaels wrestled Mankind, and that was a 2.5 hour long event, and there was one super kick thrown on the entire card.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels.
Nobody get kicked in the head at all.
It's a finish.
Yeah, but then if you watch it these days, I don't know if you see NXT. Somebody took a belly to back onto the edge of a table, then no-sold it instantly.
Bro, you don't even have to tell me. The guys these days do not know how to sell.
Yeah.
They do not know. Seriously, I know how to sell very well. Okay, and when I teach people how to sell better. If I walked in to any locker room today, right? There's a 75% of the guys that say, "Hey, you need to start working on your selling, and this is what you need to do." There's just a huge problem in guys that wrestlers, all they care about are the moves. Everybody lays out a match to get their shit in. They come up with creative spots. They have a certain amount of time they have to do it in, and because they figured out so much stuff that they have to do, they haven't calculated enough time to sell anything. So nothing looks like it hurts. Nothing looks like this. It's so it's just none of the things really mean nothing anymore.
But do you think that's the fault of the wrestler being dumb, or because of the mark only reacting to high spots?
No, it's the wrestler being dumb. It's the wrestler being first of the wrestlers being dumb, and they've basically cultivated this crowd of this crowd's not wrestling fans. Like wrestling fans, that I worked in front of, they like to cheer the baby faces and boo the heels. And they like to cheer for the good guy to beat the bad guy, mostly, and they would pop when the good guy would win, and they would boo when the bad guy would win. Where do you see that anymore? And that's just basic simplistic wrestling. It's like, show me a match where you've seen that, where the bad guy is doing things to get the crowd mad at him, and the good guy is like fighting back. Just, I mean, show that to me. You know, what does it happen once every 3 weeks on a match on a show?
Yeah, whenever Lesnar turns up.
Yeah.
I got a question that this might seem a little rude, so if it does come across as rude, no offense. But with WCW ended, this WWE started hiring a lot of WCW names. You weren't one of those names. Yet they hired people like fucking what's his name, Hugh Morris.
They called me, and I never called them back because I want to take. I was burnt out. I had money. And then plus two, I decided to get paid for 3 months to stay home and get paid. I was going to take my money.
But when that was over, did you ever feel? How did it feel to not?
No, because at the time back then, it wasn't a really pretty picture up there. The locker room was not a pleasant place from what I'd heard, from what I was hearing. There's a lot of tension in the locker room. The WCW guys weren't getting along with the WWE guys and stuff. And plus, I had this other promoter that was paying me money to go overseas. So
Was that WWA?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever wrestle in Ireland?
Yeah.
Well,
what's it called? The O2 Arena there?
I think so. Well,
yeah.
You're not coming back, and I'll make sure of it.
I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah, well, I challenge you. There you go. The match is on. See, we just worked all these. But one of the things I've got to say is that you may not. I know you've trashed the whole idea of the Hall of Fame and stuff, but despite what you think, you actually are a very popular wrestler, and a lot of fans would love to see you celebrated down the line. And despite how you may think, like the real ones go, no, that guy could wrestle, and he was a great heel despite having stage 4 AIDS.
Do you want me to respond to that?
No, your big smile was enough.
But I'm not a fan of I don't care about Hall of Fames. I don't care about sports Hall of Fames. There's no set rules. There's no like guidelines, and like it's you basically pump up like since when are baseball writers like the smartest people in the room to decide on that stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I could write about baseball if I wrote something down and posted and people read it. You know what I'm saying? It's like the baseball writers of America, like these people that that write about baseball and watch baseball and they talk to the players and stuff. Everything that's great, but it's like, that doesn't mean your opinion of baseball is superior to others that watch it just like you do.
My current favorite, and the only reason why I will tune into stuff now, is Brock Lesnar. I could take him in a shoot, but that's not really what I want to talk about. But with the kind of money he's on, and at his age, and with the fact that there's really not that many like huge matches left, how much longer do you think that Brock Lesnar could keep going?
As long as he's getting for whatever his price is met and dates are met, he's in it for the business. I mean, he could. How long could he do this schedule? He could do this schedule for 5 more years. He looks fine. He just fought like 2 years ago, like shoot fight. So he's in shape. He can stay in shape. So that's not hard to do,
Unless he starts getting health problems, like excuse me, I was drinking this morning. But with like if you look at Scott Steiner, like was that a heart attack he had, or was that just passed out?
No idea.
Yeah, because after a while,
I don't know any details of that.
Yeah, because like after a while with these guys, whether you're fat as fuck or whether you're in shape, it's not healthy to be big as you get older, and it may catch up with Lesnar.
Do what now?
It may catch up with him, like because he seems to go purple in the face.
Who, Steiner?
Lesnar.
Oh, Brock. I don't really notice that. I don't watch a lot of wrestling.
But I've got to ask you this one thing about the women's wrestling. Now, I was a big fan of it for a long time, but the simple fact is, when you watch it, it's just not good enough. And they seem to be working this style of let's do everything really fast to make it look aggressive, but they keep botching every fucking thing. Um, but the question I've got for you, uh, from looking at a bigger picture thing, do you think that the women's wrestling, especially someone like Becky Lynch, is overpraised yet at the same time overly criticized?
I guess, yeah. I don't know. That's very ambiguous. What do you mean by that?
Meaning like if like there was a thing a couple of years ago where Brie Bella accidentally kicked some woman in the face in a match and knocked her out, and the whole internet was like, "Fucking fire her, get her out of the company, never again, never do it again." When thousands of men have not have knocked out thousands of other men in matches, but when a woman botches, the internet's like, right, worst ever, out to go. But when a man does it to go, fuck, that's a shame. But at the same time, I feel that a lot of women have like a 2 or 3 out of 5 match, and then people go, I thought that was the personal highlight for me. I thought that Alexa Bliss showed a lot of promise, and she's a Hall of Famer for sure. So that's what I'm saying.
What, you talking about the fans? Bro, I've been talking about how weird these fans are for years. I mean, you're sitting there trying to. Well, you're asking me questions, and you know that you're asking me rhetorical questions.
No, they're genuine questions.
They're rhetorical questions. You know the answers already because you know how I feel about these subjects.
But do you think that the women get unfairly criticized?
No. What's unfairly criticized because of your gender?
Yeah,
what do you mean by unfair? What's unfair criticism?
Like that's what just what I said. If a woman botches, the internet wants them fired. If a guy botches, then it's find it funny.
Yeah, but if a guy botches, okay, usually it's an accident. Sometimes when a girl botches, they're doing something that you were looking at what they were doing, and it's like, why did you think you could do that successfully when the level of the percentage of failure is probably very high based on your body type and shape and your strength and everything. That's what I look at when I see the women do stuff. They try to do all the moves the guys do. Literally try to do all the moves the guys do. And just some of them are not physically built to do those moves. So when they botch a move like that, it's like that's like dumb. That'd be like, like me trying to go and give like the Paul White a suplex. And I pick him up and he falls on me and breaks my ankle or something. It's just like, it just doesn't make sense. They're doing stuff that like logic would not dictate that you're going to perform that move successfully sometimes because they're going beyond their limits and stuff. The risk involved outweighs the chance of success. So if you botch like that, of course you deserve fair criticism and performing in front of the cameras just like everybody else.
Yeah, but I thought that Brie Bella didn't deserve all that shit.
No, she probably didn't.
Oh, well, see,
the people that have never trained, never wrestled before, never taken a class, never done anything. They've just read who's good and who's not, and you're reading from other people that have never trained, never wrestled, and stuff. Everything. This is the thing that's fascinating. It's like, do you know who the best worker in our locker room was when I started back in 1995?
No.
Just universe. The boys thought this. This is like all the performers the bookers, everybody as a worker. Do you know who the best worker was?
Bobby Eaton?
Nope, Brad Armstrong. Brad Armstrong was universally known as the best worker. And you know why he was the best worker? Because everything he did looked great. Everything he did that you did to him looked good because he sold great, and he was light as a feather. Meaning he made it look real and he was barely touching you. That's why he was a great worker. You know what I'm saying? But now all of a sudden it's like these people are going and they're rating the matches and they're drawing this false result that like, oh, those guys must be great workers. And it's like sometimes the work isn't any good because they're beating the piss out of each other. You know what I'm saying? And you're looking, okay, that's not great work. This may be a good match to watch, but like you don't want everybody working like that because they're not going to last because you're going to get hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's like so work is the people that have never worked, the dirt sheet writers that have never worked and stuff. You hear them sometimes talk about what they think good work is, and they have no fucking clue. They just have no idea what they're talking about because that is not what work is. Work is to make it look as real as possible, as light as possible. That is the perfect combination of work.
Brad Armstrong, of course, the name of a famous porn director who was married to Jenna Jameson.
But she's married to a porn director right now?
Used to be.
Oh, used to be. But before Tito or after Tito?
Before Tito.
Before Tito, right. Okay.
But just as we get to the final question here, so that you can go have a Google of Jenna Jameson footage. You worked, of course, TNA for a long time. You maybe rubbed shoulders with like Dixie Carter. At the minute, AEW, my favorite, your favorite, is run by Tony Khan or Khan or whatever the fuck his name is. Or as I seen somebody write on YouTube the other day, Tony can't draw 1 million viewers. But the question I've got to say is he seems to be making a lot of the same mistakes that Dixie Carter made. And so, who, in your opinion, is the...
Like, give me an example.
She focused too much on ex-WWE names.
She didn't... you gotta understand, Dixie maybe hired wrestlers and stuff like that, but she wasn't, like, in the day-to-day, you know?
So who do you think is the better boss, Dixie Carter or Tony Khan?
I got along with Dixie. I always got along with Dixie. And I always try to give her honest, fair advice if we ever had discussions, you know? Because we'd be in the booking meetings sometimes, like it'd be like, she'd be complaining about stuff the dirt sheets wrote, the torch, right? And she'd be like wondering what to do. I said, I go talk to them. I'd be like, talk to them. I go, if they're printing a false version of the story, at least you need to get, that's the only thing, the only way to get your story out is on these dirt sheets these days. These guys kind of have a monopoly on the flow of information of the wrestling business. So I said, just talk to them. Give them your version, give them the version of the story, because she'd be upset when there'd be fake stories written about us. You know? But, I don't have any idea what I don't have no clue what Tony Khan does. Never spoken with him. And this is the thing is like I told everybody when AEW started, anybody that listens, right? And if you can go back on things I've talked about, and I think even you will agree that there's not been anybody in the business that can plant his flag and be bright more than I have. Okay, I told everybody when AEW started, because they have guys in positions they've never been in before, they would have some probably growing pains, and they would probably be making some rookie mistakes. And I said, but they would probably figure out everything and sort things out, right? So the one thing they've gotten better at that I've seen and that they've improved, okay, is they're implementing, at least in some of the angles, good episodic storytelling. Like if two guys are in an angle, every week we add and add and add to the elements of the angle, and the characters react based on what happened the week before, what would you do this week and stuff. So they're doing that good, right? They've also had problems, like production-wise, like they'll have vignettes airing during the split screen on commercial breaks, and you can't hear what the guys are saying in the vignettes. It's like that's a mistake. They're doing good things. They're making errors, but they're doing certain things good. Which what you'll see is, so like I think like after 6 months, they're showing promise. They're showing promise. I will give them credit. I was like, obviously there's certain philosophical things they do on their show that I would just vehemently disagree with, but they've kind of like put guys. They've kind of like taken their roster now and centralize it into the guys that they know that they can put and put good TV on each week. So I mean, I'll give them credit for that. I'm not gonna, the one thing you can't really say about me is that my criticism is always fair. You know, because I call it like I see it. I'm not going to call. There's no one thing you're never going to get from me. If there's something I like, I'm not going to lie and act like it wasn't any good. I'll tell you what I see and what's good. You know. So.
But Tony Khan does seem to be spending a lot of money. Like, and I get you have to spend money to make it, but it's like these are big fucking.
Bro, you know, this is the thing. Anybody want to criticize for that? You have no idea what what the books look like. Everybody going, oh, they're spending too. Nobody has any idea what their financials look like. Until you get some financial numbers back, everything, and criticizing them for making mistakes financially. How do you know if you haven't seen the books?
Well, I know someone that has.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
Who?
Brad Shepard.
He's seen their books.
Well, listen, Disco. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me. I genuinely think, and I've said this before I ever spoke to you before and asked anyone, I genuinely think you're the best wrestling podcast guy in the world. I think you're honest, you're funny, and sexy.
And, and the most important thing is I'm right.
You quite often are right. I'm pretty sure that you said WrestleMania should be a 2-day event.
Of course I did. That was like 3 years ago. I think I talked about that.
Right,
that eventually, maybe 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. Because here was the point. But between WrestleCon and like what are there like 60 events going on that weekend or something like that? Some stupid, ridiculous number of shows. So the WWE has fans coming to town, and they're not even spending all their dollars on WWE. They're spending it on all these other, like, you know. And I was just saying to myself, I bet Vince McMahon figures this out, okay, and maybe even does this. Friday Night Hall of Fame. Actually, you know what? Saturday afternoon, or Friday night NXT. Saturday afternoon Hall of Fame. Saturday night WrestleMania Day 1. Sunday WrestleMania Day 2. Because what you're doing is you're providing the A-list show, 4 shows for people to pay for. And you're not giving them any time to go to anything else. Ultimately, see, that would be the reason they would do stuff like this, is to get all the dollars. And instead of having people come in and their dollars are going somewhere else. You know? But think about that. WrestleMania is a 7-hour show. Why would you not, which is atrocious to watch. Like 7 hours is just unacceptable, okay? Why not do 2 3.5-hour shows for twice the money? I mean, it's really not it's really, you're getting paid for this amount, okay? For this, okay? You're getting paid double for this, and it's still the same amount of time. Just seems like common sense to me, you know.
It is, but common sense is something you have, and a lot of great answers. And
because here's the thing too. What people don't realize is like, you know, people are paying bottom dollar now for the WWE pay-per-views. Like it used to be, you needed $50 to watch it each month, $600 a year to watch all of them. All right. So the WWE, when that was the model, the booking was a little bit better because you were trying to make money. The booking leading up to the pay-per-views, you're trying to make money. But now as you've seen the paper, it's only another event and a $9.99 monthly subscription. It's like they really don't. It's like you're not. There's not a lot of money you're trying to draw here. You've already got the money. It's like, how much more are we going to draw at $9.99 subscription? And I think what the problem is, and I think what they're seeing is, the potential is like you have enough people that know this thing is 7 hours long, and they're just going to say, I'm not even going to bother with any of it. Even though like WrestleMania, I start watching it like, what time does the show start? 4 Eastern, and it ends like 10:30. You know, it's ridiculous, right? I'll start watching it like around 5 o'clock my time, like 8 o'clock, like enough to watch like the last 5 or 6 matches. You know, if there is one match I wanted to see, that I'll just go back and watch it on the network afterwards. I'm not investing 7 watching wrestling so to listen to people complain about the booking on the internet and rate the matches. You know.
But I think they only watch to complain. But I hope that nobody listens to this to complain, because you're always honest with me, even though sometimes you work this silly gimmick where you don't find me hilarious. But I want to. No, you do find me hilarious. You'll probably think about it later on. I just want to thank you so much for your time. I want you to go binge watch Total Divas while you can. It's on the network. You've got the free time for a couple of days, and wash your hands and take care.
All right, take care.